Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2019 and the final part of this experiment where we're taking a look what would happen if you had the perfect goalkeeper in the game. Now last time we left off he had been forced to leave Manchester City, we terminated his contract there and he went and signed for Arsenal of all teams. And if we just have a look at his competition milestones, you can see since joining Arsenal they have gone on and won the Carabao Cup, Premier League and FA Cup. So the question now is, can he get Arsenal all the way to the Champions League trophy? If we just have a quick look at previous winners of the competition, you can see before he joined Arsenal they did finish second behind his Man City. They then finished second the year after. If you have a look at this Premier League table though, you'll notice that Manchester City dropped down to fourth in the most recent season and the year before that after being champions. And so it's definitely had a big impact him leaving the club. They're down to about 80 points, having been up at 100 or so almost every year that he was there. And now you've got Arsenal finishing on 89 points this time. They actually got 91 the year before and didn't win the title. So they won it on goal difference ahead of Liverpool this year. But he has managed to help them win their first Premier League title in a very, very long time. Arsenal last won the league in 2003-2004. That feels like an absolute lifetime ago. But that's where we left off. He is, at the moment, if we have a quick look at his general stats, he's now 29 years old. I think he's got 10 years left as a footballer, so we're going to go right to the end of his career, see where he ends up. I'm going to change his contract details and all the rest of it to try and make it so that he does leave and go to another club and doesn't retire at Arsenal, but we'll have to see how that goes. If no team comes in for him, I will just forcibly move him back to maybe a lower league team to keep things interesting. But I am going to set his contract details, which you can see here. I'll put the will leave at end of contract in there. I'll mess around with a few other things as well, and we'll see if we can make him leave the club. His contract's up to 2033 at the moment. Around that time would be good. But let's just go right the way to the end of his career. We'll have a look at how he's done at Arsenal and what teams he ends up at and how he goes from there. Now, if you have enjoyed this experiment, do remember to drop a like on the video and make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you're not already. There will be a brand new experiment coming out in a couple of days time, so if you've got ideas for experiments, let me know down in the comments. But now let's go forward and see where keeper Jenkaldo finishes his career. Well, when we left off last time, this was the season that Arsenal had. They were unbeaten for a really long time through the season before a few defeats and went out in the Champions League quarterfinals to Barcelona. I'll run through this pretty quickly, but you can see they did beat Liverpool 2-0 to win the Community Shield. Not the best league season overall, but they did get through in the FA Cup to the semi-finals before being beaten by West Ham on penalties. He did score in that penalty shootout. Knocked out of the Champions League by Juventus that year as well, so not a great season for them. The next year, Smith Rowe get the testimonial there. Knocked out, or not doing well in the Champions League at least, did get through in the EFL Cup quarter-final and the semi-final, but lost to Manchester United 3-1 in the final. Beat Lyon 2-0 in the first leg, 1-0 in the away leg, through in the FA Cup, but then beaten by Liverpool, an 88th minute winner for Vinicius Jr. there. They did get past Milan in the quarter-final of the Champions League, 1-1 with Bayern Munich away, and then 2-2 at home, means they were knocked out on away goals. That is really unfortunate. Lost to Man City there as well, but I think they probably won the league title that year. Going down through this season, again you can see progressing in the FA Cup, through against Valencia and Schalke in the Champions League. Lost to Man City 1-0 away from home despite them being down to 10 men, but in the return leg they did win 3-1 to take them through to the Champions League final. Can he win the Champions League with Arsenal? He can. It's a 1-0 win, 115-minute winner from Brahim Diaz, means that he has now won the Champions League with Arsenal as well. He won the UEFA Super Cup as well, 1-0. Pietro Pellegrini with the winner, and Smith Rowe getting the penalty that beat Manchester City as well. Won the Club World Cup final, 3-0 there against ES Tunis after beating LA Galaxy 1-0 in the semi-finals. Going on through the other competitions, this looks like a really good year for them. 2-0 win over Brighton in the FA Cup semi-final, through to the semi-finals of the Champions League as well, after beating Dortmund and Juventus on the way. Beat Liverpool 3-0, then 2-1. Can it be back-to-back Champions Leagues? They won the FA Cup, but they lost to the other Manchester City. Cadman sent off in the 115th minute. They scored on the 116th minute. It makes me think there was a free kick there from Alejandro, and so they did manage to win the Champions League ahead of Arsenal. So disappointing end to the year there after a really good trophy-laden season. The next year they did lose the Community Shield 2-0 to Man City, through in the EFL Cup to the semi-finals, got through that, won the EFL Cup 1-0 against Manchester City there, knocked out the FA Cup by United, a reversal of that finals, or the finals from last season. But through in the Champions League quarterfinals against Juventus, they seem to beat them every year. Valencia as well, another one beaten there. They did that on penalties, keeper Jenkaldo scoring the first penalty. Inter Milan, 3-2 win there. But they lost 4-1 away from home there to get knocked out in the semi-finals, so that's a bit of a shock. Still going though with Arsenal at this point. He has still not left them, but a really good start to the season here, managing to get into the EFL Cup semi-finals before getting knocked out by City. Passed Bayern Munich in the Champions League, or did they? On penalties, they did on penalties. Manchester United though knocked them out the quarterfinals. They did win the FA Cup on penalties though, and he is still at the club at this point. Now this, I believe, is where he may have left the club. They're not doing as well, so I believe that in the 2036-37 season he did leave Arsenal. Now if we have a quick look at the Premier League table, you can see Arsenal currently finishing third. They did win a season recently, but if we look at the past winners, these are the seasons that he did manage to win the title with Arsenal. Missed out in a couple of years here. But if we have a look at the stages screen and just drop back to the first season after we left off, they did miss out on the title in this year, really far back actually, Liverpool winning that. Then they won it with 101 points, 10 points clear of United. The next year they won it by just 2 points ahead of Liverpool, 6 points over City there, and then City coming in and getting 2 points ahead of them, and then 5 points ahead of them United. Imagine not winning their title on 92 points there. And then they dropped really far back. This is when he left in the 36-37 season. He wasn't at Arsenal, and they finished in 6th place, 4th year after that. And then they managed to come back and win another title. Now, if we have a look at keeper Jenkaldo, then we will be able to see that he was forced to leave Arsenal to go to MK Dons. He only stayed there for 3 years though, before then going to Columbus Crew in the MLS. Now if we have a look at the MK Dons season, he joined them when they were in League One. If we have a look at their senior squad schedule, going back to that 36-37 season in League One, he came in and you can see winning on penalties here. He did miss knocked out on penalties. He did miss a penalty there, which didn't help. But doing alright in the league, unbeaten in the league actually at this point. Still going unbeaten before losing to Chesterfield again. Knocked out on penalties by Arsenal under 23s this time. He missed the first penalty yet again. But they did manage to get past Forest Green. He did score in that one. But knocked out in the FA Cup third round by Leeds. But a good season, got them promoted up into the Championship, and it looked like they were doing pretty well here as well. I won't linger too much on these seasons. We'll just have a look at their table at the minute. I'm just checking they didn't have a good cup run. It looks like they didn't. It also looks like he left them around this point in the season, because that's where the defeats really start coming in. But it wasn't a great season for them anyway. And if we just have a look at the table for the Championship, going back to that 36-37 season, you can see this season, they were down in League One that year, but the following season, MK Dons did get promoted. They finished in 9th place. The next year he left halfway through, and they were also deducted 12 points for going into administration, as well as getting relegated, although administration got them relegated in the end. I imagine that they probably failed financial fair play, because he's got a couple of records here, failed the financial fair play because of the wages that they will have had to have paid. Now I'm just trying to find where is the landmarks here. We can see he came out of administration here, but I think it's because when he joined them he would have been on an enormous salary, and you can see they failed the Sky Bet League One financial fair play, but because they got promoted, that didn't matter. But then his wages must have bankrupted them in the championship, and it did not go well for MK Dons, eventually getting relegated yet again, and they're currently still down in League One. But he did go to Columbus Crew, and you can see he didn't keep that many clean sheets, but he did have a really good record with them. He's still there at the moment. He is retiring at the end of the season though, and we're pretty much there, I think. If we look at their senior squad schedule, then we actually don't have one because the league hasn't been loaded. That is a big oversight by me. But you can see he did play here in this competition, but they did lose in the semi-final of the CONCACAF. So not a good time for them there. But overall, I don't think it matters too much. He may have won the MLS, but he has ended up there. It's where most of the big names end up these days, to get a bit of cash. They've not won the MLS Cup at any point. I don't think it even shows. Does it show past winners? Oh, it does show past winners. He's not won it. He's nowhere near it. So Columbus Crew are not a team that usually challenge for the MLS, and I don't think that was going to change just by bringing him into the team. He is going to retire at the end of this season though, so we're pretty much at that full-time point. I will go forward and have a look if he does end up in management, if he's going to do anything like that. If we look at his current screen, his plans are just that he is looking to retire. He does have 2 short-term plans, but nothing else on there. It says that there's 2 short-term plans, but I can't see anything. But he is with a National B license, which is something, but he's got a long way to go to get proper coaching badges that will allow him to be a manager. I think he's probably not going to be a manager though, based on the kind of player that he is, a goalkeeper. He's more likely to end up being a goalkeeping coach or something like that. But I will go ahead and take a look at that stuff. But if we just have a look at his overall overall stats rather, well, that's because we're on Columbus Crew. His overall stats have been pretty impressive. He's had 426 clean sheets in the league across 831 games. Most clean sheets came when he was at Manchester City, 26 or 29 actually when he was at MK Dons, but more games played there of course. If we look at his milestones and his competitions, then you can see he has won an awful lot of them, including another European Championship with England. He was still going with them, and if we have a look back to that kind of 36-37 year, this is when we left off with England. If we sort them by date here, no, that's not the right way, there we go. You can see that they did play in the World Cup that year, knocked out by Colombia in the quarterfinal. Not doing that well in their Nations Group League, but they did manage to get through. They beat Spain 2-0, Connor Boyle with 2, and then beat France 2-0 as well, with 10 men as well. So they did manage to win the Nations League. The next year in the Euros, a perfect run to the final. 3-1 there, 1-0 over Poland, 3-0 over Wales, 2-0 over Scotland as well, which is nice, beating Wales and Scotland on the way. Penalty shootout victory over Italy, and then 2-1 in the semi-finals against Germany, and then a penalty shootout win against Spain. He did score in that penalty shootout as well to help England win another European Championship. In the Confederations Cup, despite a good run past New Zealand, drawing with Argentina, beating Australia, and then beating Nigeria B 6-0 in the semi-final. They were beaten by Argentina 2-0 and did miss out on a second Confederations Cup. But the World Cup, they actually did it. You can see here 2-0 over Australia, 3-0 over Costa Rica, 2-1 against Japan. They beat Ireland 1-0 in the third round, 3-2 over Holland in the quarterfinal, 1-0 in extra time against Portugal, and in the final England beat Germany 1-0. Isaac Salifu with the winning goal, and they have managed to make it through. A near perfect year for England this, other than this draw in the opening game of the year. They nearly had a perfect run, and that continued here as well. Look, they managed to beat France and then Belgium to win another Nations League, qualified for the Euros comfortably, and they managed to go all the way through this as well. 1-0 over Italy, 1-0 over Belgium in the semi-final, and then 3-0 against Scotland in the final of the European Championships, which seems a bit unlikely, but they have managed to do it there. And then he retired this year here, In the Confederations Cup, they were beaten by Argentina again, this time in the semi-finals to get knocked out. And England not doing quite as well after that. And no more big, what's going on? Oh, that's a group qualifiers. No more big competitions for them. But if we go back to keeper Jenkaldo, then you can see on his biography here, you can pause the screen if you want to read this in great detail, but I am going to focus on his competition wins. So you can see that during his time with Arsenal, he did win 4 Premier League titles with Arsenal, which is nice. He won the Nations League twice with England, the Club World Cup once, the World Cup once, the European Championships 2032, UEFA Champions League with Arsenal as well, Super Cup, FA Cup twice, Carabao Cup twice, Community Shield twice, and then he went back to MK Dons. But you can see he's won an awful lot. I don't know why it won't... Where is all the competitions listed? Is it listed here? I don't know why it doesn't combine all of his Premier League titles together. I'm pretty sure it used to do that in an extra paragraph where it just listed everything he'd won. But you can see he has won an awful lot of Premier League titles. A lot of Club World Cups as well. The Confederations Cup in 2021. 5 Champions Leagues, so 6 overall in his career. I mean, he's won literally every competition, I think. He's even got a Confederations Cup in there. But you can see he never won the Ballon d'Or. He did win the FIFA Best Men's Goalkeeper 11 times in his career, World Cup Best Player Runner-Up and World Cup Best Goalkeeper, and twice he won the Sky Bet League One Player of the Year. He didn't seem to win the Championship one though, which is a bit interesting. But he has won just about everything you could imagine winning, and he had 2 stints at Franchise FC as well. For those of you who do hate MK Dons, which I think is just about everybody not from MK. So there you go. But that is the career of keeper Jenkaldo as a player. Now I'm going to go forward and just have a look if he has managed to achieve anything in the future. I'll just let it sim for a bit and then come back and do a little wrap up if so. So I'll be back in just a second. Well, I did go into the future a bit of a way. I've come back a bit now, and unfortunately, keeper Jenkaldo never actually got another job. He retired from playing in 2040. If I just have a look at his profile, you can see he is a goalkeeping coach and head of youth development. He can do some other jobs, but he just hasn't been hired despite these stats. I could bump them up to perfect, but we tried that before. He doesn't have anything higher than a B license. He's not going to get a good job, I don't think, so there's no point in bothering with doing that. So that is going to be the end of this experiment. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I think he's had quite an exciting career. He's won literally everything as a goalkeeper, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, he did not get that golden ball. That's the one thing really missing from his locker room, but hopefully he has made up for it on the trophy cabinet with everything else that he's won. If you have enjoyed this experiment, do please drop a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well if you're not already. But until next time, see ya.